Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The San Diego City Council today is voting to adopt a budget for the next fiscal year. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. City leaders had to make some difficult cuts this year, but as KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen explains, a last-minute deal could spare some programs that had been on the chopping block.
This has been the toughest budget year for Mayor Todd Gloria, who took office during the COVID-19 pandemic, but was spared from making drastic budget cuts thanks to federal assistance. Those dollars have now run out, and the cost of everything from paying city employees to buying asphalt for road repair has gone up. That left the city with a deficit of nearly $137 million. To balance the budget, Gloria had proposed cutting several equity programs that are meant to lift up historically disadvantaged communities. Shortly before Tuesday's council meeting, 2 council members announced their proposal to reverse some of those cuts, mostly by shifting funds around and using one-time resources.
There are no easy choices in this difficult budget year. And I know that these modifications reflect the majority of the priorities expressed by the public and my colleagues.
Key priorities in the budget deal include $1.2 million to expand a program that offers rental subsidies to keep low-income households out of homelessness. $3 million would pay for hotel rooms for victims of the January 22nd floods.
We have over 1,000 people who are still living in hotel rooms in San Diego at no fault of their own. They were displaced by floods, and we have to do everything that we can to get those folks back into permanent housing. We have a moral obligation to invest in them.
Hanging over the budget vote is a proposal from Mayor Gloria to create a 1,000-bed homeless shelter in a warehouse just east of the airport. The mayor wants to budget $10 million for improvements to make the property habitable. But the council is wary of major real estate deals and hasn't yet agreed to lease the warehouse. It's still unclear how the city would spend those $10 million if the mayor's shelter plan falls through. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
North County is thriving, but still has critical issues to address, and that is the message County Supervisor Jim Desmond gave today in his State of North County address. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne was there and gives us a recap.
North County officials, community leaders, and residents filled the Brooks Theater in Oceanside today to hear from County Supervisor Jim Desmond.
North County is thriving, and we have all this potential.
During his State of North County address, Desmond highlighted the growth in the region's agricultural industries.
San Diego agriculture provides over 16,000 jobs, and they have an economic impact of nearly $3 billion a year. Now, when I gave my last State of the North County address, I think it was pre-COVID or something like that. It was only $2 billion a year.
And tourism.
But we live in a place where people go on vacation. And we have a lot of the top-rated hotels, surfing and sports competitions, and exceptional restaurants. So tourism and hospitality, I'm pleased to say, is up 15% in North County.
But he says some of the issues San Diego's northern region faces are homelessness, the need for housing, and transportation. Desmond says North County is in a mental health crisis.
I think we need to get people into the treatment they need and get them healed. I have not been a fan for the North County for shelters, parking lots, or housing first proposals.
He supports purchasing a property in Vista where the county would expand psychiatric resources.
So we're just beginning the negotiations, but I'm optimistic it's going to be a campus for healing, a rehabilitation site here in North County, and it's something that we desperately need. We don't have enough of these facilities, and hopefully we can get past homelessness and get people into the help they need.
Desmond will represent District 5 until 2026 when he terms out. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
San Diego voters will not decide whether to replace San Diego Gas and Electric with a nonprofit municipal electric utility this November. KPBS reporter Katie Anastas shares what happened when the proposed ballot measure went before the City Council last night.
San Diego City Council members unanimously rejected Power San Diego's ballot measure on Monday. It would have authorized the city to purchase and operate SDGE's electric distribution system.
I believe strongly that public services like electricity should be provided by public entities, which is why I worked with my colleagues to fund a public power feasibility study. However, I continue to have significant concerns with this proposal. There are far too many questions left unaddressed.
Staff from the city attorney's office had concerns about the initiative, including the duties and selection process for the electric board it would have created. Council President Pro Tem Joe LaCava says he wants to see the full results of the city's municipalization study before deciding whether to send a measure to voters.
Making a change now without the adequate assurances of feasibility, financial stability, and both the promise and the ability to deliver better service and cheaper rates is a disservice to San Diegans.
The council's Rules Committee rejected the ballot initiative in April, but the Power San Diego campaign gathered enough signatures to bring it back to the full city council for a vote. Campaign Chair Bill Powers says the thousands of signatures showed enthusiasm and interest from the public.
If enough San Diegans are aware that this is a possibility, then we have the potential to get it done at some point. And again, yesterday wasn't unexpected, but it did require that those council members vote yes or no.
He says the campaign will continue to promote municipalization as an option. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
Tonight we're dropping down to a low of 61. We'll have some low clouds there near the coast. May run into some tricky travel there late at night and early in the morning, though we are tracking slightly warmer temperatures here throughout the midweek. We'll tell you how the temperature trend plays out even as we head into the weekend. Coming up, stick with us.
The goal to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza may be closer to reality this week. Israeli leadership is considering a U.S. proposal to end fighting with Hamas. Laura Aguirre has more on what this latest development is.
It's an important step closer to peace in Gaza. Israel is signaling it may be ready to formally sign President Joe Biden's three-stage ceasefire deal.
I met with Prime Minister Netanyahu last night, and he reaffirmed his commitment to the proposal.
Once agreed upon, the ceasefire plan would roll out over several weeks and would include commitments like an eventual full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, along with the release of all remaining Hamas-held hostages. A short statement attributed to the Israeli Prime Minister's office Tuesday reaffirmed support for the U.S. proposal, saying the plan enables Israel to achieve its goals. But it also reiterated that Israel will not relent on its war objective of ensuring Gaza no longer poses a threat in the future. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Monday is among a number of global pressure points on Israel this week in the quest to broker a ceasefire.
Yesterday, the United Nations Security Council made it as clear as it possibly could be that this is what the world is looking for.
Their hand.
On Monday, 14 of 15 UN Security Council members voted in favor of the U.S. resolution, with only Russia abstaining. Blinken is in Amman Tuesday, meeting with Arab partners like Iraq and Jordanian leadership, announcing at a conference there another $400 million in aid for Palestinians in Gaza. A source close to the ceasefire talks confirmed Tuesday afternoon that Hamas has also responded to the U.S. plan and that they've given some proposed amendments to Qatari mediators. I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
There's a heightened security presence on the UCLA campus today following another night of confrontations between police and pro-Palestinian protesters. About 100 protesters gathered for a funeral procession like March. 25 people were reportedly arrested, and this comes ahead of a meeting tomorrow where the Board of Regents is expected to discuss the appointment of a new UCLA chancellor. The current chancellor is set to retire on July 31st. A jury in Delaware found Hunter Biden guilty on federal gun charges today. After 3 hours of deliberations, the verdict on the president's son was delivered to a courtroom filled with members of the Biden family. Cole Higgins has more.
President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was found guilty of 3 charges in federal court Tuesday. This is the first time in history a child of a sitting president has been convicted in federal court.
No one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant.
All 3 charges related to illegally buying and possessing a gun while abusing or being addicted to drugs. Prosecutors accused Biden of lying about his drug use on a federal form in 2018 when he bought a revolver in Delaware. Biden had pleaded not guilty. Now he faces up to 25 years in prison and a fine of up to $750,000 when he is sentenced, though he is likely to receive far less than the maximum as a first-time offender.
This case was not just about addiction. This case was about the illegal choices defendant made while in the throes of addiction.
Members of the Biden family, including First Lady Jill Biden, were in the Wilmington, Delaware courtroom throughout the trial, showing support for Hunter. During closing arguments, the prosecution was quick to remind jurors the famous family support shouldn't impact their decision. I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
And Hunter Biden released a statement shortly after the verdict saying he is more grateful for the love and support of his family and friends than he is disappointed by the outcome. He went on to say that recovery is possible by the grace of God, and he is blessed to experience that gift one day at a time. Just hours after the jury announced their verdict, President Biden addressed a gun violence prevention conference at the nation's capital. Julia Benbrook gives us a look at the president's message.
President Joe Biden speaking at a major gun violence prevention conference just a few hours after his son Hunter Biden was convicted on 3 federal felony charges in connection with a 2018 handgun purchase. The jury concluded that Hunter had violated laws designed to prevent drug addicts from owning firearms. In a statement, the president said he loves his son and is proud of the man he is today, while making it clear he respects the judicial process. The president chose not to comment on the trial during this gun safety event. Instead, he used the stage to highlight the upcoming anniversary of the signing of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act.
It's the most significant gun legislation in nearly 30 years. We passed it only because you went out and worked like hell to get it done.
The legislation received support from both Republicans and Democrats after the deadly school shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, back in 2022. It enhanced background checks and boosted funding for mental health programs.
Whether we're Democrats or Republicans, we want our families to be safe.
Polling shows that nearly half of registered voters, 48%, say gun policy will be extremely important to their presidential vote in November. A poll conducted last fall found that 56% of adults believed gun laws should be stricter.
No single action can solve the entirety of the gun violence epidemic, but together, our efforts, your efforts, are saving lives.
This appearance comes as the White House and the Biden campaign have worked to promote the president's work to tackle gun violence, an issue they believe resonates with key voting blocs. Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
An appeals court has upheld California laws barring gun and ammo sales on state property, including the Del Mar Fairgrounds. Today's decision by the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals stems from suits filed by pro-gun plaintiffs. One such lawsuit over a gun sale ban at the fairgrounds was dismissed by a judge. On appeal, they had argued the bans are unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. But in its ruling, the court said the amendment only protects the right to keep and bear firearms and doesn't say anything about firearms sales on state property. As the November election approaches, political rhetoric around immigration is getting more extreme. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis says there is a long history of this in California.
And we know that this is an invasion. This is an invasion of people not wanting to follow the rules for immigration. So
that is State Assembly candidate Carl DeMaio in May telling a local news anchor that there's an invasion at the border. It's the talking point that Republicans across the country are using more and more as we head into the November election. Not only does DeMaio say there's an invasion, he also tells us what's behind it.
Because Democrats want the votes. They have no problem with a porous border.
Experts say this interview, without any pushback from the news anchor, is an example of why invasion rhetoric is so dangerous. Zachary Mueller is the Senior Research Director at America's Voice, a pro-immigrant advocacy organization. He says invasion rhetoric is part of a white supremacy conspiracy theory in which
elite liberals are part of this cabal to bring in non-white immigrants to replace white folks, to replace their voting power, and to steal elections and undermine democracy. Now, obviously, none of that is true.
This kind of language ramped up in 2016, but it has a long history in California. In 1873, the San Francisco Chronicle published an advertisement warning of a Chinese invasion, asking readers, "What are you going to do about it?" Political cartoons from the 1880s show California as a sinking ship falling under the weight of too many Chinese migrants. And a headline from the Chicago Tribune in 1903 says, "America invaded by alien swarm." Natalia Molina is a professor at UC San Diego. She studies the construct of race in the United States.
The use of the term invasion and just the general idea of it isn't anything new in terms of how we describe immigrants, how we frame immigration issues. It goes back as far back as the late 19th century.
Molina says anti-Chinese sentiment led to the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, essentially banning immigration from China. U.S. history is full of examples of anti-immigrant rhetoric leading to discriminatory laws. Molina uses this 1994 ad as an example. It's from California Governor Pete Wilson advocating for a measure that would strip benefits from undocumented immigrants.
They keep coming. 2 million illegal immigrants in California. The federal government won't stop them at the border.
Molina says that framing the problem as immigrants invading is counterproductive. It doesn't help find real solutions to the broken immigration system.
How you define a problem defines a solution. If you define it as an invasion, well, then it's a matter of, putting up a wall and making America strong.
She says immigration is such a complex topic that oversimplifying it distracts policymakers from asking nuanced questions.
How do we encourage legal immigration? Is our system set up even for legal immigration? At what level do we want immigration? What are the processes?
In 2020, more than $50 million was spent on anti-immigrant campaign ads. That amount more than quadrupled in 2022. And now, the 2024 election is already on pace to surpass that amount, according to data from America's Voice. Mueller says that these ads pull on people's genuine concerns about immigration.
Because it is a story that hits on their anxieties about who they are and their identity, about safety and their community safety. It hits on, concerns about, their economic security and pulling on those anxieties, which are legitimate anxieties, racializing them, saying immigrants are to blame for that.
Voters around the country should be expected to be bombarded with more invasion ads before the November election.
We can't rely on ads because the ads are designed to be inflammatory. The ads are designed to get your attention for 30 seconds.
Molina's advice? Do your own research.
We can't rely on a flyer or somebody who wants to win an election.
Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
You may have noticed some relief at the gas pump in the recent weeks. Experts say the trend may continue for a while. According to AAA, gas prices nationwide fell 10 cents last week, and that's the largest decline of the year so far. And right now, the average price for gas in San Diego sits at $4.95. Analysts say this trend is ultra rare because this is the time of year when travel picks up.
This year is a little bit different because we are still seeing weak demand for gasoline, and that, coupled with lower crude oil prices, is actually bringing pump prices down all across the country.
And AAA expects more states could see their average gas price drop below the $3 per gallon mark in the coming weeks. As streaming services have raised their profile with new shows and new stars, they've slowly been raising their subscription prices too. And for some, it's just in time for the summer. Karen Kafa has a look at the price hikes consumers may have missed and how to cut back some spending.
Escaping the summer heat to the air-conditioned comfort of a binge watch is getting more expensive.
If your original plan was, well, I'll save money, I'll get rid of cable, I'll have 1 or 2 streaming services. Now you need multiple streaming services, and you're more or less right back to what you were spending when you had cable, the other day.
Among streamers increasing prices this summer, NBC Universal's Peacock, with higher prices for monthly and annual plans starting in July. Max, the streamer of Warner Brothers Discovery, CNN's parent company, will raise prices on its ad-free services by $10 to $20 annually starting in July. And Spotify will also boost costs for U.S. subscribers starting in July. The price hikes come as streaming media companies face their own increases in the cost of doing business as they expand content offerings to keep up with one another.
You have all these services all creating their own original programming, which is expensive to create. And in turn, you're going to have to pay a little bit more for those services.
Nicholas DeLeon, senior tech reporter for Consumer Reports, says streamers will likely experiment with different offers like lower price tiers with ads to keep inflation-weary subscribers tuned in.
Expect to see more bundles, expect to see more promotions. If you buy this product, we'll throw in that service, that type of thing. So it's a little bit chaotic, but that makes it fun.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Well, let's start you off with your weather headlines, what you need to know as we head over these next few days. Night and morning low clouds west of the mountains. That's going to be the name of the game here over the next few days. The warmer days through the midweek. Not overly hot, but still warmer days throughout the middle half of the week, and temperatures do rise this weekend. You'll see a slight dip in temperatures as we do head into Thursday, but then they're right back up again as we head into Friday and Saturday. Let's take a look at tonight, though, across the wide view of the area. Oceanside, you're at 61. Ramona, you're down to 56. Borrego Springs 74, Mount Laguna, while you're bottoming out at 60. Though as we head into tomorrow, we'll top off in Mount Laguna at 74, Borrego Springs 108, steamy here. San Diego at 72, Oceanside 74, comfortable there along the coast. Let's take a look at these next 5 days for you, because I told you temperatures are going to be relatively warmer as we head throughout Wednesday and Thursday, but then we do start to take a slight dip. Along the coast, you'll feel that more so on Friday, but then we're right back up again here by Saturday. It's a little bit of a temperature roller coaster that we're forecasting for Saturday. We're at a high of 77. We'll have a few clouds here. Just make sure, of course, that you are staying weather aware. Keep your eyes wide on the roads if you are going to be traveling late and early, as we are talking about some low clouds over the next few days. Further inland, well, you'll see those temperatures dip just slightly on Thursday. Still pretty warm, though. 83 for the high Wednesday, 79, flirting with 80 by Thursday. And then we're back up to there by Friday. And then as we head into the weekend, well, we're flirting with 90 now. We're up in the game a little bit there when it comes to the heat. Though by Sunday, you're back down to 82. For the mountains, well, you'll see a slight warming as we head Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're even back up to the 80s there towards the end of the week. It is going to be a little breezy, though, in these next coming days. For the deserts, temperatures gradually rising. You'll see a slight dip Thursday, back up to 108 Friday, 110 on Saturday, and then back down to 104. It's going to be hot, plenty of sun. Make sure you're staying hydrated. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
The summer vacation has just begun, and already thousands of students in the San Diego Unified District are heading back to school tomorrow. They'll be on campus to level up. KPBS education reporter MG Perez shows us what that means.
These kids are enriching their summer singing, rehearsing for an upcoming production of the wildly popular musical Matilda with the Trinity Theater Company.
I didn't get a big role. I got big kid number 3.
13-year-old Eden Levy has performed with the Trinity Troupe since 3rd grade. She's excited the company will share the magic of musical theater with students who may have never experienced it.
You feel very welcomed in the community, and it's just like you feel like you have a family when you're having fun, and then you get to perform in front of everyone.
Our students not only need it, but they deserve these opportunities.
This morning at Monroe Clark Middle School in the heart of City Heights, San Diego Unified Superintendent Lamont Jackson welcomed the start of this summer's Level Up Enrichment Program, which provides 9 weeks of education and fun in everything from music to sports, to art, field trips to the San Diego Zoo, and an opportunity to perform.
We want to provide these opportunities for them to really enrich their summer, to grow and really unlock the genius in them, to see themselves doing something and have an opportunity that they wouldn't otherwise have.
Monroe Clark is one of 49 schools across the San Diego Unified District where students will level up this summer. The program was started with federal COVID money, but it will only continue with community support. 50 local nonprofits, including the San Diego Foundation, provided additional resources, people power, and funding to connect 24,000 students over the next couple of months. Those given priority enrollment include children from low-income families, foster youth, unhoused kids, and students with special needs. Trinity Theater Artistic Director Sean Paul Boyd is ready to support all of them.
Instead of saying, oh, we're going to work against this, we're going to work with it. We want that unique difference to be part of our storytelling.
Looks like there's lots to sing about this summer.
Sometimes you have to be a little bit naughty.
MG Perez, KPBS News.
And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom on NPR's Morning Edition. A tech company here in San Diego wants to help working parents with childcare by creating a platform connecting employers, working parents, and childcare providers. And KPBS Midday Edition is getting ready for Father's Day with a discussion on fatherhood as well as men's mental health. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.